G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for being here and watching my content. As always, it is my pleasure and privilege to talk to you about the greatest sport in the world, rugby. So, the Rugby World Cup is inching ever closer with the warm-up matches currently underway. Massive implications going into the Rugby World Cup with these warm-up matches, as there are some teams looking to build their depths, whilst other teams still looking to polish their current, form and trying to get the combinations right. And this warm-up match kind of like exemplified that polar ends of two teams. France on one hand has pretty much their starting lineup set and settled, and it's the additional reserves and the additional 18 players that they're going to be taking to the Rugby World Cup. They're looking to select. So yeah, Fabien Galtier going into this warm-up match has pretty much selected a second tier team, so to speak, for this match, whilst the Scottish team is still looking to improve, looking to polish. They are in the pool of death. So yeah, really getting that combinations right, getting those set piece correctly is really, really important for the Scottish team to even survive the pool stage. So yeah, two very polar opposite situations for two very strong teams. And I'm very, very impressed by both teams for very different reasons as well. Obviously, the French showed their depth, showed their process, building a team that is basically, if you count the starting team as the B team, then the bench would be like the C team essentially for the French, and they were still able to play very high world-class standard of rugby. The process, the structure, the attacking structure, everybody knew exactly what they need to be doing. Obviously, the skill level is not quite the same as that is of the A team, but the basics, the fundamentals, the understanding of the game plan from France, from the starting player all the way to the C player, if you want to call it. Everybody knew exactly what they want to do, which was very, very impressive. And the Scotland, on the other hand, kind of found themselves a little bit lost, I felt like, in the first half of the game. It almost like they didn't know what they wanted to do. Is this going to be a warm-up game where they're just going to kind of go out there and have a bit of fun? Is this going to be a game that they want to take seriously and win it? Almost like they changed their minds a little bit at halftime, going from, not sure what they wanted to do, and then to realizing that, hey, this is a great opportunity to improve, and it's a good opportunity to fight through some adversity, to challenge themselves a little bit going into the Rugby World Cup. Obviously, this game has a red card. That's very, very. I thought it probably could be a yellow. I didn't think that was worthy of a red card. Xander Fagerson went in for a clean out, upright, smacked the player right in the head. I thought yes, it's a yellow. It's definitely a card-worthy offense, but I really didn't think that it was. Yeah, it really didn't look like it was serious enough to be worth of a red card. He will be, he will go to judiciary, and he might be cited for up to 6-week ban. And considering that he had a similar ban previously, he's probably not going to get much. It's not very likely that it's going to get any deductions. If he had a clean record. So that's a big issue for Scotland, and this happened 55 minutes into the second half. And that means that Scotland had to play pretty much the last 30 minutes with just 14 players. And it was very, very impressive performance by the Scotland team. Kind of like, recognizes that they are in a fight, and they actually put a much better performance with 14 players on the field than they were, ironically, with 15. With that being said, I do think that the French team looked just like the moves, the attack line and the kicking game looked so good. It was almost like you can just take it out of the textbook, and it'll be just the way the French players is straight out of the textbook. Everything is done just to what you would expect, and to very high quality. Lots of deep runners, and then good set piece. And then the Scottish team really had to scramble a little bit, like I was talking about. I thought it was really, the mentality of the two games. Like, it shows not just the players being disciplined, but it shows the organizational difference between the Scottish team and the French team. The French team came out of this game. They knew exactly what they want. They wanted to work on their set piece. They wanted to work on their attacking line structures. They wanted to work on the individual skill sets. And that's what they focused on. They didn't really focus on anything else. Like there was no point in this French team look for a penalty goal, whereas the Scottish team almost felt like they wanted to just win the game with 3 points at the beginning. Like right from the get-go, the Scottish team had a penalty, and I thought, the game kind of just started. Should probably, get yourselves a bit warmed up first, and especially considering it's a warm-up match, and the Scottish team took 3 points very, very early in the game, and I thought, that didn't really seem like the mentality you want in a Rugby World Cup warm match, especially when selections are still up for grabs. Whereas the French team didn't have any of that. There was it was very big difference. Just before halftime, the clock was red. French was leading 14 points to 3, and France had an opportunity to kick. Basically the time is up at halftime. France had an opportunity to kick for 3 points right in front, multiple penalties, and they just opted to go for the lineouts. And it paid off for them for another try before halftime, which just shows you the mentality. The French knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to work on their set piece. They wanted to build towards the World Cup, and not just to try to, chip out a win with penalty goals. Whereas the Scottish team, early in the first half, I thought that was really bit of a, really wasn't ideal mentality in the game. But in the second half, once that red card was given, the Scottish team almost had like a wake-up call, really put themselves in a much better mindset, a much more aggressive mindset, and closed out the game. So before I go on for another 2 hours, let's look at some of the stats. So the Scottish team has 506 run meters to the French 401, 3 tries apiece. The French had a much better dominance in the first half, whereas the Scottish team have a much better game in the second half. The turnovers conceded, the Scottish team conceded 12 turnovers to the French 9. Tackles made, 130 tackles made for the Scottish team, 13 missed tackles. That's 10%, which is incredibly good for the Scotland side, especially considering they were down a player for 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes in the second half. Not really missing tackles despite having to defend much more space is quite impressive, especially against this French team. The French team, 135 tackles, made 24 missed tackles, a little bit on the high end. Fabien Gaultier would not really want to improve on that a bit. Considering this is a B team and C team, that is kind of like the difference between the starting, between the premier players and the remainder. That is kind of like the difference between the quality of the players. But yeah, this is this is something that the French team wanted to improve on. Going to Rugby World Cup for sure. It's starting to become a creeping issue as well for the French team in terms of the defense in Six Nations. Their tackle miscount is a little bit higher than they normally were this year. So that's something that Fabien Gaultier needs to keep a very close eye on. The kicking game, 20 a kick for the kicks for Scotland, 26 for France, and lineouts, 13 lineouts for Scotland, 16 for France. This the lineout loss stats is incorrect. They don't keep that. They don't track that anymore for some reason. So it's not because it's not actually 0 for both teams. They just don't track it. Scrum loss, 1 loss against the French, which was quite, again, this was one of those games where the set piece was quite important. The game came down to whether or not the French can win a penalty try with the scrum at the end of the game to potentially snatch the victory from Scotland. But it was like the set piece was I thought it was quite a tight battle as well this game. Penalties conceded, again, a little bit on the high end for the French side, 14, 12 for Scotland, 1 red card. There was also another incident where there could have been a yellow card early in the game. One of the French players was chasing a kick and smacked, I think it was Kinghorn, maybe what was the name? White? It's either Kinghorn or was the name? Is either Kinghorn or Ben White. But he basically, Ben White sort of like fell down catching the ball, and then one of the French player came over on top of him and kind of smacked him on the head with a swinging forearm. I did think that was probably just a penalty. It wasn't, the TMO. I mean, not the TMO. The commentary was saying that there should be a card. For me, that was just the penalty because the guy that was catching the ball really was like on the ground essentially, really, really low. And then the tackler as well made a genuine effort to make a tackle, and then it happened. The Scottish player was just really like ducking it under too far off, and then a complete accident hit to the head. I thought it was just a penalty as well. But yeah, but I like the decision there by the referee. But then again, I did feel like Ferguson's penalty was just a yellow card, not a red card. The TMO, when they went to the bunker, the TMO reviewed it, and the TMO said that was worthy of a red card, which I disagree. I did think that it wasn't. It was pretty, like, it looked really bad, but I didn't think it was that dangerous. To be really, really frank with you, like the force, that wasn't like a blindsider hit to the head. The French player saw it coming and kind of just, yeah, it wasn't nearly. I don't think it was nearly that dangerous to be worthy of a red card. So let's have a look at some of the interesting stuff from the game that kind of happened. So so basically the French team came out early, knowing exactly what they wanted to do. The Scotland team, like I said, look a bit lost at the beginning of the game. 3 minutes in, they got a penalty right in front. Great opportunity to work on your set piece, work on your line out. But somehow, Scotland wanted to win this one really bad. Decided to kick 3 points. And that mentality, that, let's take an easy points mentality, really hurt them in the first half, I think. And sure enough, the French came out with the structure, with the depths in their attack line. 11 minutes into the game, Kuyu gets the first shot on the ball for the French team. And then, sure enough, more momentum was building. There was a lot of nice kicking game going on. And then 24 minutes into the game, they, again, just really, really smooth handling, good hands, and then just, nice deep runners, straightening up, hitting the advantage line, and then quick ball coming out, creating overlap on the same direction they were going, and then creating that second try with Belly Biari. Goes in for the second try for the French team. And then, again, for the entire first half, the Scottish team didn't really look like the structure was really messy. There was not much depth happening on the field. And then there was, it looked quite disorganized, to be really frank with you, the Scottish team in the first half. And then when halftime was approaching, France get a penalty on the dot of halftime, and pretty clear intentions. They're here to work on their set piece, knowing what they wanted to do for the World Cup. Goes for the line out, gets another penalty, goes for the line out again, and then the second time, Cameron Wookie goes in for the French. Like, the line out, they didn't even go for the maul. They just quickly piling pressure, and then Wookie pick and go. Too big, too fast at the breakdown. Gets the try for the French team. And then halftime, France was leading 21 points to 3. Yeah, looking pretty bad. Second half starts, the Scottish indeed came out with a bit more urgency. Darcy Graham, the best player in the Scotland side, by a long shot. There was a few disallowed tries this game, but Darcy Graham's definitely deserved this one. There was basically, Scotland was finally building some momentum, getting a bit inside the French 22. I think they had a penalty advantage, and then Finn Russell, crossfield kick. Darcy Graham gets this one down for the Scotland team. 45 minutes. Really needed that first try. And then about 15 minutes into the second half, the red card incident happens. Xander Ferguson runs in shoulder to the head in a clean out. Yellow card gets sent off, and then which later upgraded to a red card. So Scotland had to play pretty much almost 30 minutes with just 14 players. With that being said, despite the one player missing, the Scottish team actually played much better. Immediately after this red card, the Scottish team didn't really let, that's a good mentality. They didn't let the red card affect them. They just stuck to what they wanted to do, stuck to their set piece. They didn't go, oh my god, it's a red card, let's kick more 3 points. They went, okay, we need to do our lineouts, we need to do our set piece, we need to do our scrummaging, we need to do whatever they need to do to win the game, as if they had 15 players. So that's what they did, and sure enough, they built some more pressure. A minute after this red card was issued, Pierre Shulman, the biggest ball carrier, I think he was for the Scottish team, who's done tremendously well for his club rugby in Scotland. I think he plays for Edinburgh, and then he had one of the best run meters in club rugby, and then he translated that into a very, very strong season for Scotland in Six Nations earlier this year. And then this one, he basically got the ball again, just huge carry. He had 3 players in front of him, and he rammed himself through for a try for Scotland, despite the red card. With that try being scored, there was the Scottish team had a lot more momentum going. And then 66 minutes into the game, again, despite a forward missing, a prop missing, they go for a line out. They went for a more, and then the bench coming onto the field, putting that extra bit of energy. The finishers bringing that extra power onto the field, fresh legs. Morse this one over for a try. 66 minutes into the game, and the Scotland actually takes the lead with the play in the bin, and then the game played on. 75 minutes into the game, Scotland gets a penalty. Finn Russell puts this one over to make sure that the French team had to score or try to win the game. And boy, that was a big decision, and that was a correct decision. Considering they were a player down, and they wanted to, this is a completely different decision than the first goal kick 3 minutes into the game, because 3 minutes into the game, nothing has happened yet. You've decided to take the easy way out, whereas this one, you could potentially be in a situation exactly like this in the Rugby World Cup, where you were down a player and you need to defend that lead. And this is exactly, I think this goal, this 3-pointer is absolutely the right decision for Scotland. Finn Russell kicks this one, gets some 4-point lead, and then it was up to the French to try to win this one. The French, I think, made a massive mistake at the end. They clearly had a scrum advantage. Okay, they had a penalty like 5 minutes out from the try line. They still went for the scrum, gets another penalty. Went for the scrum again, gets another penalty. Obviously, with the player missing in the Scottish scrum, and then the French team, instead of going for the scrum again, which I thought for sure was going to be the correct decision, the French decided to go for the lineouts, and that was really poor decision because the Scottish team was able to defend the more quite well, consistently in the second half. So then there was the more gets defended, France swings the ball out, and then gets turned over at the breakdown, and then that's it. And Scotland won the game in a very, very, very impressive fashion. Albeit a French deep B team, I thought that was quite the good effort in the second half of the Scottish team. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching this video. I'm gonna go watch England versus Wales and see how that goes. And have a good one. Enjoy your day.